Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Asa Dunnington. We'll be discussing his fantastic book, Selectively Lawless, The True Story of Emmett Long, an American original. Available for purchase through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, Ingram.com. And also, if you guys want to gather everything that Asa has to offer, do yourself a favor and head directly to his personal site, asadunnington.com. There, not only will you find more information on him, you'll find more information on this book, Selectively Lawless, as well as find hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing page. So one more time, that's asadunnington.com. And I will say, Asa was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best movers in the business, Good River Print and Media Publishing. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, do yourself a favor and contact Good River. You can find out more information on them at goodriverprintandmedia.com. And guys, listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Asa here on the line with us because his book, right there in the subtitle, guys, this is based upon a true story. Now, that may not mean anything to you yet, but once we embark upon the journey and we start to discuss what is written on those pages, and then you think back to the fact that this is all true, it is absolutely astounding. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Asa, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you so much for being a guest. How are you?
I'm fine, and thank you. This is a good honor.
Well, listen, Asa, the honor is all ours. Okay, we're very much looking forward to this, and again, there's just something about true stories that just raise the stakes, right? It heightens it a bit, and we are at the edge of our seats, ready to embark upon this journey with you. So as I stated, the honor is all ours. We're very much looking forward to this. Now, I know we have so much information to cover, but before we go into the book, let's hold off slightly. Asa, tell our listening audience a little bit more about yourself and your background, please.
I was born in a little town called Logan, Iowa, and when I was only 5 years old, we moved to California. Excuse me. And I was raised at the end of the Santa Fe Trail, a little town called El Monte, California, where I went from kindergarten through high school. When I graduated from high school, I went into the basic training for the Army. I was in the Army Reserve for 3.5 years, and then I joined the Air Force. And I was in the Air Force for 4 years as an automatic radar tracking specialist. After I got out of the Air Force, I finished the requirements for an associate's degree and then went to work for Mattel Toys for 5 years, and then wound up on the staff of Vice President Spiro Tiagnu as a lead advance man. And for the next 30 years, I was in sales management. Spent the last 15 years with Federal Express. And I wondered what I was going to do after I retired. And lo and behold, I wound up writing my autobiography and then the story of Emmett Long.
Asa, first and foremost, thank you very much for your service and all that you had done to really protect our liberties here in the country, and we truly appreciate your sacrifices. Now,
you're welcome.
Asa, without further ado, Selectively Lawless, the true story of Emmett Long, an American original. Tell us a little bit more about your book.
It's the true story of how a young man during the Prohibition dealt with conditions at the time. He was the son of a lay minister and a sharecropper, and the family either were working in cotton fields or they were building fences. And Emmett decided at age 14 he didn't want to do that anymore. So he walked off the cotton field in Texas and told his brother, I'll be back in 18 months. I'll have $18,000 and I'll have a new Buick Roadster. He went to a cousin's house, a female cousin during World War I, who developed skills at the gaming table. And she taught Emmett how to play poker until he got good enough to beat her at the game. And so she told him it was time for him to hit the road. So he left Texas, worked his way across the country to California, where he bought a motorcycle. And he rode the motorcycle all the way up the Pacific coast to Washington. He went to a barber college and learned to barber. And then he worked his way along the logging firms in Washington, gambling by night, cutting hair by day. And that's how he earned his $18,000 and his Buick Roadster. And he did come back 18 months later.
Asa, let's go into the title, because instantly, there's something about it that is so intriguing, right? And I absolutely love it. Selectively Lawless. I love that. I love that the image that comes to mind and how enticing it is. Why did you choose that title to be the representation for your book?
I'm glad you asked that, Benji, because it was a special step along the way. While I was working on the book with information from Emmett's daughter, and I hired a ghostwriter, so the three of us were working on producing the book. And we, along the way, you bounce titles off each other, and none of them fit. And I was sound asleep one night, and this was after weeks of trying to find the title. I was sound asleep, and I believe that the Spirit came to me and told me, name it Selectively Lawless. So the next day I told my associates that would be the title, and everybody loved it.
Again, here on the line with Asa Dunnington. We're discussing his fantastic book, Selectively Lawless, the true story of Emmett Long, an American original. Available for purchase through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, Ingram.com, or through his personal site, asadunnington.com. Asa, next concept that I'd love to go into, let's talk about inspiration. Now, it's clear to me why you felt inspired to learn about this history yourself. I mean, this was, of course, a family member of yours through marriage, as you've stated, but still a family member, someone that connected to you. So it makes sense as to why you were interested in learning about this. But why didn't it end there? You wanted to continue and actually put the words on the paper and put it out for the public to partake in as well. What inspired you to do that?
Well, Benji, I had a background in writing. I was a sports writer for a data newspaper in Southern California when I was in high school and before I left for the service. And when I met Emmett, he was 65 years old, and he knew that I had a writing background. And when we met each other, we just connected. we spent a week together at his motel in Cuesta, New Mexico, and I just followed him around and did the odd jobs that we needed to do. And during that time, he shared with me his entire life story. And it was like the most fascinating character I'd ever met. But we couldn't write the story, we couldn't publish it until Emmett passed away because he killed 4 people.
Oh, wow. That is absolutely, oh my goodness, that is astounding. Now, talk to our listening audience, Asa, in addition to, of course, your own personal conversations with Emmett. What type of research did you do in preparation for this book?
Well, I've been asked that question before, Benji, and you won't believe this, but on my mother's side of the family, she had 2 older, my mother was the 13th of 14 kids. Her 2 oldest sisters were married to henchmen of Al Capone. I had an uncle who hauled booze from Omaha to Chicago for Al Capone. And then I had another uncle in Iowa that produced booze for Al Capone. So I laughingly say I was born into it.
Asa, I'm curious, man. Listen, we know that if we want to learn all of the stories and we want to gather all of the information, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your personal site, I mean, listen, there's no way around it. We know where we have to go. But since we have you here on the line, is there any stories that you share in the book that you can actually quickly share with our listening audience now to give them a little bit more of a teaser of what they will be expecting?
My favorite humorous part of Emmett's life was after he established himself in this little town of Cache, Oklahoma, as the provider of booze. He controlled the local law by paying the Comanche Indians, and Cache, Oklahoma is the headquarters of the Comanche tribe. He paid them $1 apiece to vote for his sheriff. So Emmett had been established for some time as the provider for this in Cache. But he and his friend Boots Callicott, you'll meet in the book, decided they wanted to make a little extra money on the side. And there was a young man in town that was a pool hustler. So they decided to take this kid on the road, and they hustled in pool halls all over the Southwest. And that ran its course. And then one day, Emmett was on horseback in downtown Cache, and he saw this kid. And apparently the kid had skimmed money from that venture. So Emmett rode over to him and said, "Where's my money?" And the kid started making excuses, and then he ran into the bank. They were downtown. And Emmett rode into the bank on horseback, threw a rope over the kid, and dragged him outside. And the kid managed to come up with the money. But that's typical of Emmett. Oh, and one other thing, Benji. Later, Emmett owned that bank.
Oh, man, this is incredible. Asa, this is something that can be developed into a film. I mean, these stories are that incredible. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a biopic that is developed from this in years to come, because it is just that astounding. And then when you realize, again, that these are all based on true events, these things actually happen. It's not just a story created for entertainment and embellished for entertainment. That is absolutely astounding. You know, Asa, we've discussed so much already. But is there anything else that we haven't yet touched up on that you want to make sure our listening audience is aware of?
Yeah, I've got one more story I want to share with you because I think this even more lends itself to a movie. In 1966, Caesar's Palace opened in Las Vegas. Emmett was a friend of Benny Binion, who owned the Horseshoe Club there. And Benny called him and he said, the mob's getting ready to open this casino. I think we can rip it off. When Emmett gambled, he wore trifocal glasses and he put something in his hair that he marked cards with his little finger. So the week that the casino opened, Emmett checked in, went down to the gaming room, and won $25,000. He was there for 2 weeks. In those days, they didn't have the technical detection system that they have now. So all they knew about him was he was an Oklahoma cowboy that was ripping them off, but they didn't know how. And Emmett knew after 2 weeks there, he had accumulated $500,000.
Oh,
he knew they wouldn't let him leave with the money, but he got the money out of there. And you have to read the book to find out how.
There it is. Asa, there it is. What a great way to stop. You led us on such a wonderful cliffhanger. And then there it is. You guys know what you have to do. I love it. There's no better way to end such an incredible interview. Guys, you know what is amazing about this? Is we've discussed so much information, yet we've barely scratched the surface. Not only is the answer to that incredible story that Asa was just telling us found inside the book, but so many others. So you know what you have to do. Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, Ingram.com, AsaDunnington.com are the places you have to go. Selectively Lawless is the title you have to pick up. And Asa Dunnington is the author you have to thank for bringing it to your table. Asa, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you once again for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
Thank you. It's been enjoyable. You're a good interviewer. I appreciate that.